Brandon, we're back.
Nice to see you again, sir.
And we had such fun the last time. We thought, well, let's just go ahead and do another one right now.
Absolutely.
So that's why we're wearing the same
clothes.
So thank you for joining us again. We appreciate you following us. Again, if this is your first time, please subscribe to the podcast so that you can keep in touch with us. This is a continuation of our efforts to help folks cope with COVID-19 and to make sure people have access to our helpline number that is available. So one of the things that we were talking about in the last episode was around hope, and one of the topics that came up was the importance of structure and ritual and routine, which triggered this thought for me. I wish I knew where this quote came from. I don't know. It's not mine, but I know it's in some of the presentations that we do for the public, for the community. And it is structure is how we make our intentions manifest in the world. So I wanted to talk with you about this because I think there's some real value here. So, intention. We all have good intentions, and there's a parable that has something to do with all good intentions lead someplace.
I think most are familiar with that.
Yes. So we're in such a time where people have a pronounced level of fatigue, hopelessness. They're just sick and tired of being sick and tired. People have been isolated. We can talk about, intellectually, all these things that people need to do to promote resilience,
Right.
to promote well-being, eat right, get plenty of sleep, reduce alcohol content, exercise, on and on. When you're not feeling well, that sounds like a bunch of hullabaloo. Like, I'm not ready to go there. That may be good for you, but it's not good for me because I don't feel well. So if the intention is to feel better, and the way to make that manifest, to make it happen, is structure. So, it got me just to thinking back to how important that is and what people can do and what I've done. And I'd like to hear what you've done in 2020 as we look back in the rearview mirror. What steps have you taken, have I taken to create some structure, to make our intentions of feeling better and doing better and being more optimistic manifest? So as you look back, can you give me an example of something you've done?
Well, going back to what you said a minute ago, actually, I think it's really important to note that distinction between structure and routine, right? And I feel like, in my personal opinion, a routine is something that is automatic. You're kind of on autopilot. You don't think about it. You just do it. And so when you're talking about promoting these healthy traits and these habits, and somebody else saying, that's easy for you to say, you may have that routine where that person may not. So working on the structure to build that routine, I think, is important. One of the things for me was allocating 30 minutes a day for something that I enjoy. And it's kind of vague, but I think that everybody needs to find that thing or multiple things and rotate them. One for me was jogging, to get a sense of clearing my mind, to focus on one specific thing at a time. Another one was playing a board game with my kids, at least 30 minutes. A couple times a week we would sit down and play some board game or Uno or something like that, but just something to take the focus away from everything else and put it on something that you enjoy as a person. Was really helpful to me. What have you been working on?
Yeah, no, I got to thinking back, and I've shared this in some of the community presentations that we've done. I remember vividly how I felt and what I was thinking when the initial sort of lockdown was going on in late March, early April. And, there was hardly any traffic out there.
Mm-hmm.
Ridgeview remained open. We were still seeing folks, caring for folks. But I was very isolated in my office. And I like to get out, move around. And I could tell after a couple of days of just being sort of locked in, I was in my own work quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do something. I got to get out of here. So I remember intentionally thinking, okay, at 10 o'clock, I need to get up and I'm going to walk around the block around this building. It didn't take long before a week of that, it became habit.
Mm-hmm.
10 o'clock and 3 o'clock every day, I'm heading out. I scaffolded that up to, at lunch, I've created a 2-mile walk.
Mm-hmm.
I think I started waving to the same people out on the turnpike at the same time every day. They'd see this guy walking with headphones in, listening to music or a podcast, doing my 2-mile loop just to get my body active, get outside, exercise, the blood pumping, change my environment. All those, but it wouldn't have happened. It would not have happened just because I thought, I wish I felt better.
Right.
I had to schedule it. It had to become routine. In that, it became ritualized. So that is one example of just one small thing that could be done. And I can't help but wonder if other people can do the same thing.
I think so. I think that the scheduling is really important, and easy ways to start with that when you're thinking, I have a billion different things going on. I'm working from home, or I'm filling new roles in the home from what I was before COVID-19 became an issue. Getting up at the same time every day, going to bed at the same time every day, having regular meal times. If you can get those staples in there, that's a really good way at home to start building a schedule that I think would reduce the anxiety, make feelings of unpredictability decrease, and then I think the rest would flow a little easier from there.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be so overwhelming.
You know that old saying, we're creatures of habit?
Absolutely.
And when I think, when what becomes habit is isolation, disconnection, loneliness, futility, a sense of futility. I mean, quickly, without intending, that can become your world.
Absolutely.
So, by introducing, and it can just be, one thing, one time, one day, just to get started, can maybe develop some healthier habits that can get someone on that road to recovery, or a recovery of just feeling better.
Sure.
So.
I think that's really important to talk about it being maybe one thing, or starting small. We talk a lot here at Ridgeview about setting attainable goals, right? I think that's a really important focal point in this. You think about the old saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? So the intent is not to say you need to eat more apples. The intent is actually to say, if you were eating nutritionally over an extended period of time, you'd have a more positive health outcome, right? So starting small and picking that one thing, that one apple per day, and just continuing that trait, I think that's the right way to go.
I love that. I love that. Let's talk for a moment about the helpline. I know we try to keep this in front of folks because it's a very valuable tool and resource for people who may be struggling. We're still in the pandemic. We know vaccines are rolling out. We know people are still dealing with isolation, loneliness, perhaps loss of job, loss of maybe even loss of loved ones at this point. loss of health, on and on and on. The list just continues to grow. And there is a general fatigue that a lot of folks are feeling. Can the helpline be a resource for folks?
Absolutely. I think it's a great tool. It's a great resource no matter how you may have been impacted by COVID 19 at this point. Whether you need resources, you need pointed in the right direction for something, or you're just looking to express how you're feeling and you want somebody to listen. You want to know that your feelings are validated because none of us are alone in this at this point. We've all had some impact from COVID 19. So, one of our crisis counselors is always available to talk to you if you call the number. And I can't imagine it not being beneficial in some way, no matter the circumstance.
Well, I think you just said the perfect word to close us out with this episode, and that's validation. And part of this podcast is about validating what's important. Mental health, optimizing mental health is important. Validating one another, validating you. We hope that this podcast is something that you find validating, that you learn from, that you can join us in thinking about. And please know that this service is out there for you. And continue to follow us, subscribe, and we'll try to continue to offer some helpful things for you to think about and learn about. So thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Same, sir.
Till next time.
Yes, sir.